picked up the license, looked at it, looked at me, and held it up to the light, like to the reflection, and went and twisted it. And I, what's happening? I was just like, I was like, this is the worst thing ever.
Out of curiosity, when you first started doing somewhat shady or illegal things, not the paperwork for the mortgage files, but physically going into bank branches and stuff like that, how did you feel on the inside, outside the first few times?
I mean, it's Florida, so on the outside I was warm. It was hot and muggy. My shirt was sticking to me because it does inside the house. It practically sticks to you. It's so fucking humid. Anyway, so I think I actually answered this in the comments to him, is it Austin?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and actually I talk about this in my book. I think Colby should put my book up right here, just a picture of the book right here. Anyway, which you can buy on Amazon. It's called Shark in the Housing Pool. I actually talk about that the first time I went into a bank, and I talk about how I went in multiple times. This is how bad it was. I went into the bank to open up a bank account with a fake ID. And I don't mean a fake ID like I got it from some Russian website and it actually looks pretty good. I mean, I made it myself. I actually took my real driver's license, sanded off the information, but managed to leave most of the hologram on there. Took a piece of transparency, printed the new information of the fake person I was going in as. I forget what his name was. I think it was Joel Cologne, now that I think about it. So I actually did that in reverse. Then I glued the piece of laminate over it, trimmed it out, buffed it up a little bit, buffed the sides, and literally it looked solid, but it wouldn't pass anything. Like I can't imagine it would pass. It looked pretty good. And I actually went in the bank, and I talk about why I went in the bank. Let me talk about just sick to your stomach. I mean, terrified. On Xanax. Like, I mean, that's literally like, boom, like I'm on Paxil, I'm on Xanax. I'm so flipped out. So, but I walk in there and I sat down. The worst thing you ever want to happen happened. After I walk in and they're like, oh, which checking account would you like? I was like, oh, you know, the gold, the silver, I'll take the gold, you know. And they're like, okay. And I give her, you know, then she's doing the thing. She takes my license, puts it on her little keyboard and goes, oh, okay, Mr. Cologne, okay, how are you? Do you work around here? Okay. She's typing away, and all of a sudden she goes, that's strange. Bro, the overwhelming sense of anxiety that hit me, it was like heat. It was like a blow dryer shot from my knees up through my chest, and I swear I immediately started sweating. Like I felt like I was sweating. Now, I didn't freak out or anything. I mean, look, I remember there was
outside.
Oh yeah, I think I felt okay outside. Like I looked okay, but I mean, inside I was like, boom, 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 boom. Oh, it was horrible.
Picture the scream.
There was a cop. They had like an off-duty cop that's actually in his uniform, but he was in the. I mean, all I could think about was like, how can I bolt? How can I get out of here? Like I'm like, all these things are running through my head. Like, where am I going to go? Like my car's in the parking lot. Like that was stupid. What were you thinking? Like all these things, you're sitting there going, oh, okay. And she went, picked up the license, looked at it, looked at me, and held it up to the light, like to the reflection, and went and twisted it. And I, what's happening? I was just like, I was like, this is the worst thing ever.
Were you talking? Did you say anything?
I'm sitting there like looking at her like, gee, why is she doing that? Like I'm talking to myself, but kind of like I'm not saying anything to her, but I'm going, like I'm looking like at her, and she goes, hold on one second. Gets up and walks off. I mean, motherfucker. Walks over to the manager, goes into her office. She comes out. They come out. She walks over. They're standing in front of this woman's cubicle or whatever it is. She's standing there. She's like, really? They both look over at me. Then she hands her the ID. The bank manager, whoever she was talking to, holds it up, looks for the reflection, tilts it a little bit, does the little and goes, looks over at me again, says something, hands her the ID back. She comes walking, so whatever her name is, Mary or whoever her name, comes walking back over, sits down, puts the puts the card back on her little
Pedestal.
on her little keyboard and goes, okay. And I go, is everything okay? Of course, I'm like, I'm thinking like, are the cops coming? Are they going to put me in a prison where my mom can come visit? Like, I mean, am I going to have a seller named Bubba who thinks I have pretty lips? I mean, what's happening here? Like, what's going on? So anyway, she goes, and I said, hey, everything okay? She goes, yeah, it's just strange. I ran you through check systems and she said, there's no history of you ever having been run through check systems. And I've never seen that before. Now, of course, what she didn't say, which I obviously know, is, and I thought possibly you were using a fake ID and trying to get us to open a bank account. She didn't say that, but like everything you just said makes sense. But the ID, so her, of course, leap was fraud.
Right.
She didn't say that. She said, so I just thought it was weird. That doesn't explain why you took my ID. It does, but she didn't say that why. She didn't say, so I made the leap that maybe you were committing fraud. Anyway, so she sat there and she typed it up and she's like, okay, how much would you like to start the account with? I'm like, $500, and gave her $500, and she opened the thing and did the thing, came back, and what kind of checks do you want? And give me the basics. And I left, I walked out and I was like, holy Jesus. So I opened another bank account, and I remember this one. There's a bank called Bank of Atlantic, and I opened a bank account with Bank of Atlantic. And that was a guy named Lee Black. I opened that account. It's funny because like in the book, like I'll mention a guy's name and then you never really hear about him again.
Right.
So like there's a whole line of fraud that I never talk about because like there's all this other stuff I didn't mention because it didn't really further the story. But yeah, Lee Black, I remember I mentioned where it was the exact same routine, but it was a guy.
Right.
Came in. I really only had one bank account ever shut down. Like
really?
After I did like Lee Black, I was so confident. Like I had done maybe a couple others. So now I've done 2 or 3.
Right.
And I was so overly confident, I walked into a bank one time and instead of opening the account with like $300, $200, I walked in, gave the guy the thing. He looked at it, came back. He goes, that's funny. It says this, it says that. Oh, and he like looked at the thing. It was like, that's fun. And he just kept going. He didn't get up and do anything. He just kind of looked at it and was like, do you have your social security card? I was like, yeah, I do. And I gave him that. And he looked at it. He was like, okay. And he just went ahead and kept going.
Right.
Opened the account. And I opened the account, I'll never forget, with $1,000.
That's how confident you were.
Right. But here's the problem. The problem is that like 3 or 4 days later, he called the phone, the cell phone, the drop phone I was using.
Yes.
Or the burn phone, whatever you want to call him. He called it and left a message. I called him back. I said, yeah, what's going on? He said, yeah, we're going to have to close your account. I was like, really? He said, yeah, it's just there's several problems. I really don't want to get into them, but there's several issues. So I said, okay, well, when can I come get my
money?
My money? And he goes, oh, no. We mailed it to the address you gave us. So he mailed a check.
For $1,000.
For $1,000 that, of course, I can never cash. Like I can't cash that check because what if, there's a very good chance that not only did he realize something's wrong, but he also realized maybe he contacted the authorities.
Right.
Maybe who knows? So that's almost the same scenario when someone catches you and they call you up and they go, hey, yeah, can you come on into the bank? I need you to go ahead and sign. I forgot to have you sign something. Like, I'm never going back in that bank. No. So, like this guy, Doug Dodd, I knew, like they were shipping packages. And one day they get a call from like the U.S. Post guy. He's like, yeah, can you come in? And I need you to come in and sign something or go sign for a package. Same thing with Boziak. That's how Boziak got caught. This guy?
Yes.
That's how he got caught. The old man opened up a package at the UPS store, opened it up, and then called him and said, hey, you have a package here to pick up? So he walks in, the Secret Service is there waiting for him. So, I mean, anytime you get called to come back and sign, just walk away. It's over.
It's over.
It's not worth it. So same thing, that $1,000 check, gone. $1,000, gone. I could use that $1,000 right now.
I mean, hey, understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Wish you get it back.
Yeah.
For me, it's a little bit different. Like the first time I did that, I did have a fake ID. I was buying them from a street vendor of fake IDs, and like understanding banking a little bit. I guess better than you, I knew that the driver's license number and the social security number, all that information has to match because they do like a DMV check just to verify.
Right. Mine did, but he'd never been through a bank account. There was no inquiry. They felt it was weird. Like there's no inquiry. It checked out, but it's like if you're 35 years old and somebody pulls your credit and goes, you've never had your credit pulled. Like,
right.
That's weird. And every time they were like, so then they look at the ID and it was questionable. Yeah. It's a questionable ID. I mean, I never had it not pass, but trust me, it was questionable. But anyway, go ahead. So,
all right. So I went in there with like.
You had a good idea. You had a good ID.
Good ID. Well, the information was good.
Right.
So I wasn't going to ever get that's interesting. That's weird.
Well, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're.
But the strangest
it's just
thing,
a real person though, too.
Right. It's a real person. Okay. So they put it together. The strangest thing that ever happened is like I went in there with a guy that I had convinced like, hey, this is work. You seen me do one the other day. I did one. This is absolutely going to work. So we go in and we sit down with one of the bankers and it's a gay guy, sweet as candy. And hey. So he looked at the ID one time. So we go in and he's typing it up. You know, he's asking us questions. He gets the ID and he holds it up and he looks. Then he puts it back down and he like, what kind of account do you want? Give me the information. He puts the information in and he goes in and he's all right, well, let me go get the paperwork and process everything. So he steps out to get the paperwork and we're in there talking like, ooh, this is easy. This is good. He's gone for a good minute, not a super good minute. Like some people have left and they've been gone so long. I'm like, look, I'm leaving. I don't know what the hell or where they're at. You know what I'm saying? I'm gone. But he was gone for a good minute, but not a intimidating minute. So he comes back, gets the ID, gets the paperwork. He goes through, gives us the checking paper and all the information, gives us the ID back and said, okay, your account's open. I went ahead and put your money in the account, $100, and the account's open so you'll be able to access it online. Everything's good. And that police officer will be waiting on you when you get ready to leave. And we're like, our heads whip around with noise like, like we're going, when did you know?
Right. And so, did you just steal $100 from me? Like, I'm going to get arrested.
No, your account is open, but
yeah. You'll never be able to access
it. That's right. But it's open. Yes. Swear to God. Like we're in the police car.
Now,
going,
you know what? To be honest,
when did he?
Like that's a banker.
That's a banker.
That's a solid. I shouldn't be shocked.
You shouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. That's a banker.
Oh, he was. Like we're in the car going, like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? The police at the door. Like you don't even like. You might have seen him come in like, oh, there's a cop there. Anyway, all right, here you go. And that cop's gonna want to talk to you
because he was so smooth about it.
He was incredibly smooth about it. Yes.
I hate that.
He doesn't like. I have telltale signs for when stuff like that goes on. Like I watch their hands because once they realize that they're in the midst of whatever setting you up or in the crime.
They get nervous.
They get a little nervous. They get a lot of anxiety. So their hands shake because that's a natural reflex. He had none of that. He was absolutely professional at all times. He's a great guy. If you're watching, hats off.
Hey, wait, didn't your... This is going to spark something, bro.
Do not spark anything because I still got burns from the last spark.
Do you know anybody else that's ever walked into a bank and gotten an ID like that wasn't even like you had the no, not a bank, but went and got an actual driver's license or an ID from the DMV? Do you know anybody that's ever done that literally had provided a birth certificate and they were the wrong race?
Yes.
Do you want to tell that story? Look at him.
Well, I don't know.
Say no. You can say no.
I don't even know if that's a story. That just goes to show you that our civil servants aren't very attentive. That's not actually a story.
It's funny though. It is.
To me, it's what's hilarious about it is
what is it?
What's hilarious about that story is I'm there during that whole process. So we're requesting the information and they bring it. Okay, we need you to sign here and such. And the person actually grabs it and we leave and they act like they're mad. It's like, first of all, we had to wait 10 minutes. And then she gives me this thing that says I'm black when clearly I'm white. And I'm like, okay. It's like the perpetrator is upset. It's like she doesn't even do her job.
Like, oh yeah.
That's how crappy she is. To give me that. I mean, she sucks. Like I could rip her off days on end.
I always say this when I would make a fake birth certificate and I would go into the DMV and get them to issue me like an ID. So I remember like, listen, I slaved over these things. I mean, I'm baking them so the paper's crispy. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I'm splashing coffee on them. I'm folding them up 5 times. I'm misting them. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I got bleed through the letters, everything. Seals, they're perfect. And then you get to the DMV, and I'm like, this thing is amazing looking. You get to the DMV, and they go, okay, you got this. This is your birth certificate. Okay, that's fine. And it's almost like, whoa. Hey, you look at this.
Yeah.
You admire, like they just discarded it. Like,
amen.
Do you have any idea? Like, that's it? That was that cursory. You rub the seal, and it's fine. This is a fucking work of art. Yes. What are you talking about?
It's
look at the bleed through on the back from the security code.
Like I've looked at this for hours.
Yeah, this is
you have no right to ignore my work.
I mean, it's upsetting.
It is.
It's a good kind of upsetting though, because the bad kind is the okay. That police officer will be waiting for you over there when you leave.
Here's everything you asked for and a trip to jail.
Yeah, you're talking to
Can we get coffee?
Yeah.
No, just.
Okay, so what's the next one?